On and on this catastrophe goes. It's just getting frightening. Well, let's discuss some of these horrors, if I can put it that way, with a former government advisor, James Price. Good morning, James.
Speaking of frightening, here's James Price.
Yes,
Great intro. Thanks, mate.
Speaking of horrific, no, seriously, I mean, we'll get to Rachel in a minute. I want to talk about her 2p tax rise, which is a disgrace. It also turns out she's a lawbreaker. That will be swept under the carpet like these things always are in Westminster. But I do think the priority in terms of today's news agenda is this increasing, I call it a sense of dread spreading through the country, and it concerns all these thousands and thousands and thousands of undocumented foreigners about whom we have this strange policy. They break into our country illegally, they come across on small boats. We're discovering now, by the way, a lot of them are still coming on the back of lorries like they used to. So they break into our country illegally. We don't know anything about it. We have this strange policy of saying, oh, welcome, here's a 4-star hotel, here's £50 a week benefit, free doctors, dentists, lawyers, etc., etc. We've got this strange policy of making this place the land of plenty, the promised land for people who break into it illegally. And I think we're just beginning to realise the terrifying consequences of this. We're looking at now pictures of this asylum seeker in Walsall, who last week was convicted of the murder of a girl who worked behind the reception at his asylum seeker hotel. He followed her out and stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver, stabbed her to death, was then filmed whooping and dancing with excitement. Of course, we had this terrible murder on Monday. This poor guy, Wayne Broadhurst, just walking his little dog down a residential side street in suburbia, really, west of London, Uxbridge. Afghan national, man who broke into this country illegally on the back of a lorry in 2020, was subsequently given asylum, granted leave to stay. Name of Safi Dawood. He's now been charged with murder and attempted murder following that triple stabbing, so we have to be slightly careful there. But another asylum seeker we learned today, or whose application failed, got into such a temper. This was in Derby. He walked into a branch of Lloyd's Bank and in a temper just stabbed to death a random stranger, a poor guy, a father of 3, shouting F the British, racist white bastards, and so on and so forth. And also another case has cropped up in the last couple. These are just coming thick and fast. A food delivery asylum seeker guy, migrant guy in Maidstone in Kent, sexually assaulted 2 of his customers when they answered the front door. And so on and on it goes. And I think that one thing about this is, when is the Prime Minister going to say a damn word about this? When is he going to say anything about that murder on Monday, about which the nation is traumatised? There's no doubt about it. That murder had a traumatic effect on the nation. No word from the Prime Minister. No word about what he's going to do about this. No word about setting up a reasonable deterrence to try and stop this ongoing invasion of people, too many of whom, not all of course, too many of whom come here and abuse our hospitality by committing the most heinous crimes. When are we going to get something from this government, James?
I'm not sure we are, my friend. I mean, it's almost too depressing to get out of bed when you put it all like this. I hope that people who are listening do still manage to find the fortitude to swing their legs out and get up this morning. It's just awful. And I'm a bit worried that with the speed of this and the frequency of these, as you say, that we're going to become desensitized to it rather than becoming angry about it. You know, we've had this for a long time now. That ghastly, I mean, the song is fine, but the ghastly notion from that Oasis song, don't look back in anger. And when the Manchester arena was attacked by an Islamist terrorist who blew up a backpack full of things and killed a load of kids, goods. And the security guard said, well, he did look a bit dodgy, but I didn't want to confront him because I didn't want to be racist. And then we went around saying, oh, you can't look back in anger. And we hear that again and again. It is high time that we look back in anger, we look forward in anger, because otherwise we're not going to survive. I walk my dog around suburban London a couple of times a day. My wife does the same thing. Am I to expect that this is what we now have in London? That part and parcel, as I walk down the street, I might bump into someone I know, might stop for a coffee, and might get stabbed to death by a bloke who broke into the country illegally and was still given indefinite leave to remain, and then it's declared to be an evil, abhorrent thing that we should ever dare to suggest taking away indefinite leave to remain from that person. Enough is enough, as you say. We cannot get desensitized to this. We cannot get desensitized specifically to the fact that this would be really, really simple in some ways to solve. You change the legal regime, you change the legal framework, you send special forces in concert with French special forces to capture or ideally kill the people who run the gangs that send the small boats over, and we re-establish a deterrent like Rwanda, and re-establish the law that Labour got rid of, by the way, that said if you enter this country illegally, you'll never be allowed to stay. And we don't give a monkey's what horrible country you come from. You're going to go back there or you're going to go somewhere else. See, it's actually not that complicated. You can work out the details. You and I have fixed it right now, and lots of people wouldn't have been murdered in cold blood if you and I were in charge right now.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about our borders. What we need, obviously, a proper deterrence to deter all of these illegal foreigners crossing the channel and breaking into our country, because it's so tempting to them. Obviously, they're going, as the French keep saying, what do you expect us to do? You're offering them the earth. You're offering them the world. You offer them £50 a week benefits. You offer them free 4-star hotels. You offer them free food, free dentists, free doctors, free lawyers, free driving lessons, free video consoles, free trips to the zoo, free trampoline lessons. These are not deterrents. These are enticements. But what is the deterrent that the government's come up with? It is the one-in, one-out scheme, which I'm told has cost us £100 million so far. I think the score was that we got 42 out and 18 had come the other way. It's now 41 out, because one of the ones that we got out got to France on the one-in, one-out scheme, so don't fancy this, made his way back to Calais and then returned on an illegal boat. You couldn't make this stuff up. He, outrageously, is still in the country, and we are hearing now that even the handful of migrants that we... I know. Yeah, if he didn't laugh, he'd cry.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're hearing now, James, that even the handful of migrants that we, at great, enormous expense, that we have got back to France on the one-in, one-out scheme, are all saying we want to go back to Britain because the French won't give us houses. You know, what is this one-in, one-out? What is it supposed to be? It is actually supposed to be a deterrent. They launched the scheme in early August, and it has failed since then. Well, we've got 42 out, or 41 now, and they've sent 18 back to us. Since then, it has failed to deter more than 11,000 illegal migrants from crossing the channel unlawfully. So it's not a deterrent, it's just an expensive waste of comically useless time, isn't it?
One quick question. The guy who came back again, have we got to accept a second person in from France, right? So the same guy yo-yoing, and is he still in one in, one out, or does he get his own separate scheme? And I'm no PhD tier mathematician, but if the objective is to reduce the number of illegal people in this country, that one in, one out, even if it were one in, one out, doesn't actually reduce the numbers at all. It doesn't do anything. This is the lunacy of this, right? Yeah. We want massive net reduction in the number of people who are here, both legally and especially illegally, because at least then we know nothing about these people, and it's much harder to do. And the insane other story that, as I think trumped all the rest of it, that this guy Hadesh Kabatu, who started all of the epic protests in the first place, who was accidentally released from prison, said, I think in an interview yesterday, he's like, no, I meant to stay here. Please keep me, lock me up again. And they still sent him on his way.
But did you hear this new element?
Hours wandering around London on a kind of tourist trip.
But have you heard the new element of this? He gave an interview to Sky News. It beggars belief. So as you quite rightly say, there's this you know, it's like a sitcom or something. They release him from Chelmsford Jail last Friday. He keeps going back to the gatehouse and going, "You sure about this? I don't think... No, you've been released." So he goes back a second time. "No, you're fine. Off you go." He goes back 5 times. On the 5th time, an angry guard said, "Look, for God's sake, the station is just down there on the left. Will you just go?" So he finally goes. He gets a train down to London. God knows where he spent the night. Saturday morning, he goes to a police station in London, and he says, "I'm Hadish Kabatu, you know, Britain's most famous asylum seeker sex offender. I think they may have released me from jail accidentally. I'm handing myself in." "Oh, get out of here. Get out." So they just sent him on his way again. It's unbelievable.
If you weren't guilty of, you know, really, really, very, truly, seriously horrendous crimes, as you say, it would be like a sitcom. It is almost funny how useless we are as a country at dealing with these things.
Yeah.
Absolutely bonkers. The one bit that gets me is that he has now been deported, and I think it was reported he was given about 500
quid because he threatened to kick up a storm if they didn't. So we go, "Oh, yeah, all right, then here's some money."
Right, but this shows then, so he didn't actually serve the sentence that he was meant to serve. Obviously, he never would have done that. He didn't even serve the half of the sentence he was given that you might expect.
Did about a month.
You know,
he did about
an
a
illegal,
month. Yeah.
An illegal criminal who sexually assaulted a child and a woman. But this does show, why don't we just go to these people and say, "Listen, right, fair play, you managed to get here. Here's £1,000, right, and a plane ticket. Now, F off, and if you ever come again, we're going to shoot you." I think that may be too generous, giving them £1,000, but it seems to work in the case of this guy, that he's just gone. And actually, these people don't seem to have a pretty good grasp on these things. Give them a few quid and say, if you ever come back, you get shot. I think that would be a pretty reasonable suggestion.
I think the shooting thing might be a sort of rather draconian, but I agree with the spirit of what you're saying.
If you break into a military site, or if you break into various other government installations, you should face these things. Any other country in the world should do. In Britain, we don't seem to. But I think there needs to be a strong level of deterrence.
Yeah, I think what people are asking, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, boasting about how "I've pulled every lever to get this guy out of the country really quickly, aren't I? Great." Well, first of all, we've got a returns deal with Ethiopia, so it's not that difficult. If Hadish Kabatu came from a country without a returns deal, he would still be here, I'll guarantee you that, surrounded by human rights lawyers. But she's boasting about that. "Oh, I moved so fast on this." So people are saying, hang on a second, we've got all these other asylum seeker rejects all over the country who never seem to leave. They just appeal again, keep appealing until they succeed. And also we've got more than 10,000 foreigners in our prisons, our chronically overcrowded prisons. If you're so great and so brilliant at getting people out of the country, deporting them, pulling every lever as you boasted, why can't you do it with these 10,000 foreign lawbreakers currently in our jails? Free up some cell space, then you wouldn't have to keep releasing murderers and rapists early, would you? How about that?
Quite. Or what about the 1.9 million people who live in the United Kingdom who are foreigners who live on benefits, right? That dwarfs the 10,000 prisoners. This is lunacy. We cannot take in all the people in the world who have had a difficult life or who had difficult conditions and all the rest of it, right? Global capitalism is pulling millions and millions and millions of people out of extreme poverty all the time, and that's a wonderful thing. The world is unrecognizable than it has been for a long time. That will keep on going, and we should encourage that. But in the meantime, we cannot take people, even with legitimate concerns. There are no housing, there's no school spaces. Clearly, there are massive, massive cultural incompatibilities that politicians are too scared to talk about. And Katie Lamb, the Conservative MP, should be massively praised for talking about how we should end up with a country that is largely a culturally coherent group of people. Nothing about race in there, nothing else. But we should definitely be having those kind of conversations as well. And I dare say that someone going and killing a random stranger with a screwdriver, not terribly culturally compatible. Something has to be done about this. It's a choice. We're choosing not to.
Exactly right. And just before we go to break, there's Rachel Reeves, front page of the Daily Mail, illegally rented out out her own family home. This is what they always call, euphemistically in Westminster, an oversight. So she's been caught by the Mail. She's got this nice house in Dulwich, nice area of South London, which she's rented out for more than 70 grand a year, 3 grand a month, something like that. But she apparently makes 70 grand a year out of it. And in the borough of Dulwich, you're supposed to register as a landlord in order to prove that it's fireproof and safe and all that. She didn't do that. So she's broken the law. She's been found out. She immediately wrote to Starmer saying, "Oh, this has been well, you've done the honourable and decent, honest thing, as I know you always would, and I believe that your apology is enough, and we draw a line under the matter right here and now," as they do in Westminster. But, you know, this is a guy, Prime Minister, who, as he was coming to power, or while he was attacking the Tories, piously announced lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. If there was any integrity in this government at all, if Rachel Reeves had any integrity, if Starmer had any integrity, she'd have to walk the plank, wouldn't she?
Yeah, 100%. She should. But I mean, politically, I'm almost glad that she won't go, because however useless she is and however much she's lied on her CV, however damaging her last budget was, however damaging her next budget's going to be, she's still got more private sector experience than anybody else in that party, and I'm pretty terrified who else they get to come in. You talk about 2p on the pound. I think that Rachel Reeves probably thinks that it's only 2p per person, rather than that being reflective of the broader increase that it is. If only Boris Johnson had thought, I'll just write a letter saying I draw a line under the matter of eating a bit of cake in Downing Street. He could have avoided a lot of pain, right? But these people are so damn holier than thou. You live by these ridiculous regulations that shouldn't exist. You should fall on your sword about it. Yeah. And we've had a corruption minister get done for corruption, a homelessness minister get done for making people homeless, transport minister done for fraud. We've had the housing secretary get done for having too many houses. It's absolutely ludicrous that these people dare look themselves in the mirror and think that they're the good guys. It's disgraceful.
Exactly right. Not very socialist either, is it? Making all your money. Yeah,
damn hypocrites every time, right?
Yeah.
Every time. What is it Margaret Thatcher said? The problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Exactly right. Let's go to break. We'll do some more stories when we come back.